Hey guys, how you doing? Thank you very much for dialing in to see my pitch. Today we're going to be talking about Garnet, which is the next generation private wealth risk management tool. My name is Greg Silberman, and I am the founder of Garnet. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about it today. Thank you for watching my pitch, and thank you for dialing in, and I'm very excited about this. So a little bit of background about myself and then how we came about this risk management system. So I'm originally from South Africa, grew up in Johannesburg where I went to school. I became a chartered accountant, which is kind of like a CPA over here, but not quite. And then I got my chartered financial analyst certification, CFA, which is kind of the premier investment designation. There's my certificate behind me right there. Then I came to the United States in the early 2000s, and I've been in the financial industry, the asset management industry, allocating client assets for nearly 18 years, maybe even a bit longer if I try to do the math. When I joined up at a large trust bank, and you will be able to see my background on my LinkedIn. So I worked for Wilmington Trust, which was a large trust bank for many years. And there I identified a problem initially, and that was because I was involved in the alternative investment division, so hedge funds, private equity, private real estate, so unlisted assets, if you will. And what I noticed was that more and more clients were getting access to these private investments, private equity being one. And what was happening was clients weren't really aggregating everything that they owned. They weren't able to consolidate all their holdings. So that was a problem initially, just to see what the client owned. And then once you had it consolidated, to actually try to figure out how the portfolio would behave in different stressful environments, risk management, investment risk management. So combining public and private investments together on one platform. Now, there are some other platforms out there that do that, but they're very expensive. The average price again is probably $100,000 for a client, so per year. So there's not many clients who are going to want that kind of aggregation. So we felt like there was definitely a need lower down in the market, more for the wealth manager, for the family office space, where they would want to aggregate positions, public and private positions, and then do some risk management over it. And so hence we developed Garnet, which is the risk management system. Now, I've tried to develop Garnet a few years ago, and I did it with a partner who decided he wanted to move to the sunnier shores of Bondi, Sydney, which was great, good for him, and he went off, but the project did stall. And then what I did do is I picked it up again, and I've been running it pretty much on my own dime, using a freelancer, a coder out of Europe at the moment. And that's worked really well because I have a bit of a technical background. When I left South Africa, I went to work with JP Morgan in London for a number of years, where I became a Visual Basic coder, VBA coder, where I worked on structured derivatives. Anyway, a story for another day. Happy to tell you about it. It's kind of fascinating, but that's what got me the business analyst brain, if you will, to build this tool behind me. And this is, by the way, is a snapshot of the tool. So once I put it together and I felt it was kind of interesting, I started showing it to my network, and lo and behold, somebody on my network introduced me to somebody who was running basically a portfolio client system, so client reporting system. And he said to me, Greg, listen, I'm not going to develop a risk management system, but if you were to do it and we liked it, we'd plug it in to the back end of his system, a joint venture, if you will. And so I said, that was great. And about a year and a bit ago, I signed a joint venture agreement, which is part of Garnet now, that comes through that. So we've been using that joint venture partnership at least for test data at the moment. And then as months and years have gone along, and basically this is probably about 2 years worth of development work now, as the months and years have gone on, I've been able to sign up some additional beta clients who are typically, again, wealth management clients, ultra high net worth individuals, or wealth managers or family offices. So people or organizations that have got, a layer of public and private securities. And that's what this does. It enables you to take the public data from public sources and the private data, sometimes we capture it manually, but there's a way to capture it manually that is leverageable, and you can reproduce it on a monthly basis. And so we're able to aggregate a client's holdings together and then do risk management using the Garnet tool. So I will, gladly share a little bit more about how the sausage is made, if you will. But for these purposes, that's exactly what is happening. So we've got, a few free clients, let me say, right now, and we're trying to develop more. But there's so much more development work that I'd like to undertake, and hence this is the reason for the crowdfunding campaign. Is I'd like to now beef this up, if you will. One area I really would like to introduce is some unstructured data, so big data. So we've got a repository of a lot of private investments, be they hedge funds, real estate, credit, private equity, venture capital, and we're just dying to kind of plug that in and try and give the user even more information than what is normally available. An interesting thing happened whilst I was going about developing this tool. I would show it to some of the other advisors that I've worked with in the past or that I've known, and they've said something interesting and actually used it in an interesting way. And they said, Greg, listen, I have a prospect client who's shared with me their portfolio, and perhaps their portfolio over month, over a year, changes in their portfolio. I'd love you to run this on the risk report system for me, and let me show them some output that's colorful and shows that I've given some meaningful thought as to their current portfolio, what we would do to change it, how we would make it better. Really just trying to differentiate myself from the pack of other advisors who are courting a client. And so I've done that on a number of occasions, and that's worked out really well. So I think that's one avenue that we definitely would like to explore with a little bit of capital under the belt. Then the other one for sure is, look, these markets are getting volatile. I mean, I am a chief investment officer, do work and advise families specifically on an ad hoc basis. Which means that I'm watching the markets. The markets are getting more volatile, and it's definitely, as markets get more volatile, clients and advisors want to know more of what they own, want to know how it should be behaving, what should be occurring, simulations, what should happen if, God forbid, we had another 2008 event or a 2001 9/11 or whatever. And so this system is pretty cool. It does a lot of that already. It's already put in. So again, we just want to raise additional capital, do much more development work, and then do a bit more of a business development push, because certainly all I've done is really just sound out my network gently, as it were. I haven't really gone out and pushed the tool. And so I certainly feel the confluence of advisors having to differentiate themselves to clients, i.e. prospects, and now the potential for a bear market, or certainly a market drawdown we haven't seen since 2008 and early 2009, is definitely going to lend well into such a tool to say, so that people would want to aggregate their risk and know more of what they own and how they would risk manage it. And they can do this in a real cost efficient way, which is great. So it doesn't cost that much for them to get a license to use it. It's actually very cost efficient. And then secondly, we will aggregate public and private data, which again is unavailable unless you're willing to spend about $100,000 a year. So I'm glad that you followed me so far, and that we're staying along now, going to 9 minutes in the pitch. So really appreciate your time, really appreciate you listening. Please go through the pitch page. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm really pumped about this. I've been developing it for a long time. I really feel like it needs some acceleration capital and time for some prime time, because I believe the timing is good on such a product. So again, open to all questions, all my contact details, my background, it's all there for you guys to see. And so really appreciate you listening, and have a great day, and listen, just be all that you can be. Thank you.